the farmer relies on several things, significant things that are beyond his control that will eventually lead to a harvest. And he's saying, as people of faith, the faith in Jesus, your life should look the same way. What is patience? Well, it comes from the word in the Greek, which is what this book was originally written in, that James wrote it, and it comes from the word macrothumia. Macrothumia, which means long suffering. It's a significant season of suffering, a lengthy period of pain or dysfunction or disappointment that we experience. Sometimes in our faith, in our American Christian faith, we think that the Christian life is hashtag the blessed life. And so we think, I want God to bless me. God has blessed me. I have all these good things in my life. And there's times where pain shows up momentarily. You have a bad day. You have a bad week, maybe you and your spouse or your significant other just was a challenging weekend, or somebody disappointed you, or you made a bad grade on a test, and your grades aren't what your parents want them to be, and so you're like, man, it's just a little bit of frustration. But this is implying suffering that will last a significant amount of time. This is what James is talking about. That's what that word means. And I know some of us here, we understand that. You're living that. You're in a season of significant suffering. There's been an illness that you just can't seem to quite get over. Every time you feel like it's almost, you're on the other side of it, it relapses and something happens and you feel like you've taken a step backwards. You can't find the job that you feel like you have to have in order to just live the life that you feel like God's called you to live. Or maybe you're single and you don't want to be single anymore. And that's a real frustration for you, a real disappointment in your life. I think these are all examples of what it looks like to suffer and to deal with pain. Maybe it's you've been lied about or lied to, or somebody's gossiped about you, or you feel like you've been taken advantage of. All significant struggles, significant suffering. Maybe you're a Cowboys fan. That's significant suffering. Verse 11. If you go back, we're not going to read it yet, but if you go back, there's another word there that's similar to the word patience. We're going to get there in a second, but it's the word endured. If you have your Bible, you can skip down a little bit and see that. But it comes from another word called hupomaneia. Hupomaneia, and it means specifically endured, or to hyperstand, standing and then continuing to stand, a standing that won't quit. This is the image, this is the mindset that James is trying to get us to see. He's saying, I want you to stay standing. I want you to stay strong, even when life is not going the way that you want it to go, for a significant period of time. Maybe for the rest of your life, there's a suffering situation that you'll continue to have to deal with. And he's saying, continue to stand. Stay standing. Don't give up. I've told you this before. It's been a couple of years, but growing up in far west Texas, our girls' basketball team was just not very good. Great group of girls, a lot of great friends that played on that team, but they were terrible. There was one season where they lost 112-8. They didn't score in the first half, and they didn't have a field goal in the entire game. The only points they scored were from free throws. I mean, it was a complete beatdown. But every single week, every single game, they would run out of the locker room, and they would warm up, and the song that they would run out to was a song by a group named Chumbawamba. You know the song. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get like that. That's the song. And at some point, it kind of became ridiculous because it's like you get knocked down every single time. But they continued to get up. They continued to keep playing until the schedule finally ran out. But I think that's the mindset James wants us to see. He's saying this is patience, is to continue to stand even when you feel like you don't want to stand anymore. There's no quit. This is where that whole idea comes from, the word grit. Is I've got grit specifically in my life spiritually. They're like, okay, Wes, that sounds great. I want that. How do I develop that kind of patience? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I think James tells us. I think the first thing he tells us in that first part of the passage we read is that we can begin to develop that kind of patience as we look forward. We look out ahead to something, not just randomly like, oh, I wonder what's out there, but we look out specifically to what God has promised to be true for us, for his children. If you go back and you think back to 2 weeks ago, we started off chapter 5, and there's this context of the end times, the return of Jesus. Jesus is going to come back. There's something to look forward to with expectation. And I think what James is saying is fix your eyes on what is to come. It's why he uses this beautiful illustration of the farmer that waits for the harvest. Now, this breaks down for us because we don't live in a highly agricultural society. There's not a lot of farmers in the house today. There might be a handful, but there's not a lot. And so we don't understand all of this. But what he's doing is he's saying, why does a farmer plant seed? Well, to grow a crop, but not just to grow a crop, but to hopefully harvest the crop. So what does the farmer do after he plants the seed? There's not really a lot that he can do. He can fertilize it a little bit. He can maybe, in today's culture, we can set up irrigation and try to water it some more. But the point James makes as he walks through this illustration, notice what he says, being patient about it until it gets the early and the late rains. In other words, the farmer relies on several things, significant things, that are beyond his control that will eventually lead to a harvest. And he's saying, as people of faith, with a faith in Jesus, your life should look the same way. Sure, you can do some things. So do what you can do, what is within your control. Honor God with what you can control, but then rely on God to do what only he can do.